I'm Dan, and this is Justin, and we are the Real Victims podcast, where true crime meets Hollywood. This week on Real Victims, we break down the Gabby Petito story, the Lifetime film.
We have Niki and Jim Schmidt, parents of Gabby Petito, to discuss their daughter's story in the movie Made Out of It, as well as via Zoom, Rose, who was Gabby's best friend. This case is really special to me because it was really the first one I ever covered on social media.
In the beginning, it was really hard, and it's surreal is probably one of the best ways to describe it. Gabby, her face is everywhere. Even today, I'll turn on Hulu and I'll see a documentary about Gabby, or at some point somebody made something. She was on many different shows, and it's difficult.
So we were out here for a domestic violence.
We travel around a lot. We talk about domestic violence, missing persons.
Talking about the social media impact, what was that part like for y'all? What what did that do for the case, in your opinion?
Social media allowed us to reach a younger crowd.
But I think it's important for the audience to know some of the negative impacts of social media. And I know we can talk to Rose about this in a little bit as well. What's fact? What's fiction?
There were some people that are not so nice.
Is that where they did reconnect?
It's all fiction.
Gabby was so active on social media herself. People felt that there were a lot of clues that they could go in and start dissecting this and digging into it and zooming in and all this stuff, trying to be helpful.
They made that up.
So the only thing they got right then in this is the fact that we know that obviously Joe and Tara aren't here, but you all do get along very well.
We do.
So that's the only accurate part.
Yeah.
They did this movie with keeping domestic violence victims in mind, or raising awareness around domestic violence. I think, when I watch it, that was meant to be pure entertainment.
I personally felt ridiculously exposed.
How do you feel about the character that played you and how she personified you?
Okay, well, I want to say she is hot, so.
Did you ever make a video or anything about that situation with the ID? Like, how did they know about that?
No, that made me uncomfortable because I didn't talk about anything like their arguments or anything. Well, I wouldn't talk about Brian at all.
They look really good on TV. You are so lucky.
Did you ever notice him being controlling of her, or trying to isolate her?
Now looking back, I believe it would have to be, the biggest thing for me would be the Taco Bell. She worked at Taco Bell, and she had a friend there, and she started hanging out with friends, and he didn't like that.
I don't remember that press conference ever happening where they come out and just announced all of this. So we flew aerial banners twice around their house, which
How could they miss that? That was one of the best
Well, you
things
tell everybody what the banners said.
We just advocate as many.
Very important work.
What gets me is they had an eyewitness phone call. The whole reason they went and pulled the van over was an eyewitness phone call of him slapping her.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. The other thing too, which came out much later, because I remember, Rose, if you remember, you sent me the picture and then gave me other ones so she would be remembered that way. They had the picture close up of her face that was so they're sitting there with her. They see this mark on her. They have the phone call. Everything's right in front of them. And they just completely blow the entire thing.
We talked every day, and I would check in on her knowing that they had an argument.
But it was outrageous.
We saw the four of them on TV. We saw the relationship when things got really, I don't want to say heated, but really, the spotlight was really, really on you guys. And you're like, we have to protect the other kids. You all four went together. And so everything that you would see on TV didn't show that there was ever any type of negativity.
They went easy with it. They went with the stereotype.
It was totally taken down to nothing. And, there was so many red flags.
There's another part in the movie where I think Joe interrupts Niki in the middle of it. Something was going on, and there was this evil glare given of I don't know. For me, when I watched it, I was like, oh, they copied our outfits and the dance we did. It was just creepy to me.
I'm guessing that this was supposed to be Mary Piglets.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were people who saw things. There was a couple. The manager had spoke back then. I don't remember exactly what was said, but there was a confrontation. He came back in and out 4 times, which is kind of erratic behavior. And ultimately, she ended up paying the check, I think. Is that accurate?
He ended up paying the check in real life.
And it could possibly be a little bit of both, though, too, because, when you look at, the body cam footage in Moab, they want to make them look, this was another opportunity to make Gabby look crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
You know, and so he could be flipping it to be, oh, look, I'm a nice guy. Look, I'm just trying to calm her down. You know, how they are.
I think that the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that they took the reports from that were there, and I don't know if he like threw a basket of chips.
I don't think so.
I don't think that happened.
But I don't think it. Somebody would have. In my opinion, people need to be respected for what they're actually going through.
It's a piece of shit, and I don't think any meds would have fixed him unless it was like, I don't know, morphine that numbed him out to not be anything other than just a body. I don't know. He was just a bad guy.
I think it's also important to talk, if you want to talk about it, how it was not easy for you to report her, like what you had to do and go through to get her reported missing.
I started calling Park Police, I believe on Thursday the 9th, and then the 10th I called more. Then Joe also started calling around, just knowing where she was. We were looking at where she went camping and stuff. We were just calling everywhere.
Was the depiction of the perpetrator appropriate and not glorifying?
You got to be careful who you talk to.
And I don't remember you doing it either.
Brian would never talk to me like that, like ever. I know that.
I'm not obviously a professional to diagnose it, but it is very toxic, very narcissistic behavior.
Yeah, and that's something that
abusive.
we're seeing with this case. And I hate to use the wording that like domestic violence advocates have been waiting for something like this, but they've been teaching these things for years, almost upon deaf ears.
That one actually was meant for Brian's sister.
Yes.
But then, and I'm going to tell you what I think happened. This is me being Lifetime right now. I'm going to make up this story. But what I think happened was when we were live streaming the banner, that live had like 5,000 to 7,000 people in it at any given time. Just from the sheer law of numbers, I have a feeling that somebody reached out to Cassie because we started funding the second banner while this one was flying. And somebody said, they're about to fly one over your house next. And she was probably like, I'm done with this. The FBI is not going to just find out that he's not there and then immediately give a statement. They're going to go back and they're going to be like, all right, he's not here. What do we need to do before they put anybody on high alert?
Correct.
For people who don't know that story, basically there was another vlogger. I think you told me the name changed, but it was
Red, White, and Bethune. It's now being Bethunes.
something that you said a second ago, which I actually had forgotten about until you just kind of triggered this memory. You said that you didn't want to call until you were positive because there were other missing people.
Yeah.
When searching for Gabby, didn't they find like 9 other people?
Yeah, I think you can go back to 50 Cent, who actually had something on Instagram about it, like this white girl's finding more bodies than the cops or something like that.
Yeah. What about Rose? Rose was involved. Rose and Brian were having all this stuff, and I'm like,
Clearly.
do you think Rose did it? And what I said, I'm gonna own it because I didn't know Rose at all. Okay, I had seen the videos, but I never thought that she was a killer. I never thought that she flew to Wyoming to help Brian do what he did. I never thought that there was, she was having an affair with him. Look, first of all, like, I'm not trying to be whatever.
Absurd.
There's no way that Brian's pulling Rose and Gabby.
People are going to say what they want to say, and it's ridiculous.
When I was watching that scene in particular, it's like Rose wishes she could have done something else and putting the blame on her. And then you're like, oh, well, nobody could have done anything.
Right.
Like they made you like you were apathetic to the whole situation. And
Yeah.
I just, obviously we know that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Better be as good as Justin's apology. It
Well,
better
it better be better than mine.
I did get quite a lot of hate.
That is total bullshit.
Who found the backpack?
Yeah, Roberta Laundrie found the backpack. And I got things to say about that, and we'll get to that. But the police did not find the backpack. They did not find his remains. And for an area that they just said was underwater, for like whatever, and they just receded, that grass was pretty tall.
The grass was tall and it was a little hilly, but the area wasn't good. But
beside the point, the next day, that's when the Carlton Reserve was reopened to the public. She walks in there, 30, 45 minutes into this, she finds his stuff. Something that the police and law enforcement and all these search and rescue volunteers with all their equipment couldn't find. And in 45 minutes, she's got all stuff, and she goes in dressed in black.
that whole thing was mind-boggling to me. I don't even understand any of it.
The guy playing Brian, in the way that Lifetime did this movie, was he treated appropriately as a perpetrator, or did they basically glorify him in the film?
I don't think they were trying to glorify him.
And it's not the viewer's fault for assuming that that is real when it's called the Gabby Petito story.
And I want to make sure that we talk about the Gabby Petito Foundation a little bit. For anybody who wants to learn more or to donate to the foundation, they can go to GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. But I will also say, because I personally know this, if you want to go purchase anything off there, the swag is great.
no one makes any money off that except the TV networks.